I would just say that we're the welcome home and the welcome to the family, and you belong here. We really want to tell them that's how we sincerely feel. We really feel like you're part of our family. You have adopted us into your home, and we really don't take that for granted.
Welcome to Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, a show for people who embrace the warm and cozy spirit of everyday living in the Midwest. From the blog Random Sweets, I'm your host, Stacy Mergenthal. What began with a tent and Dawnna Berndt's idea to grow a garden to bring in more income turned into a family business that's been serving their community of customers in eastern South Dakota and western Minnesota for 24 years. At the time, she and her husband David had 5 young children, and even though she admits she knew zilch about gardening, she actually told me she was the inside girl and her sister was the outside girl when they were growing up. But she leaned on David's knowledge as a lifelong farmer to start growing and harvesting veggies on less than 2 acres and selling that produce at their local farm stands and self-serve stands. Well, since their start in 2000, they've grown to 6 children, 8 grandkids, 30 acres of sweet corn, and 25 acres of some of the best vegetables, CSAs, and canning and salsa shares around. And Dawnna says that, along with all that growth and change, faith and family have always been at the center of what they do and how they treat people. So while you're listening today, learn more about Berndt Family Produce at bernddtproduce.com. That's BERNDT produce.com. And I also posted photos and the recipe links that Dawnna shared for their favorite corn salsa, potato soup. She has a copycat KFC coleslaw recipe they use, roasted garlic parmesan potatoes, and then she also mentioned a link for 11 easy potato recipes, and I put them all on randomsweets.com. Dawnna Berndт, welcome to the show.
So good to be here.
We have a lot of ground to cover, so we're really going to just get right into it. But first, I want to set the stage for everyone listening because a lot of people are listening, have not had the pleasure of meeting you. And I want people to know that when I was growing up, I was a little kid and you worked at Shriver's department store in Brookings, South
Yeah.
Dakota with my mother. And
Yeah.
you must have been like in high school or college. I don't remember
I
how
was a
old we.
senior in high school, so it was like 42, 43 years ago.
Okay, so long time. And you were always
Long
so
time.
kind to my sisters and
Oh,
me.
thank
And we
you.
always remember that. So as we've gotten older, I mean, I just want people to know that you're one of those people that when I see you coming, I don't go, oh, shoot, there's Dawnna. It's like, oh, there's Dawnna. And you just make people smile.
Oh,
A lot
thank
of people
you.
are, now that we've set that stage
Funny.
that Dawnna's a super nice person and a very hard worker, obviously,
And
you
we
can't be
go
in this business.
way
So take a few minutes here and tell us
back.
about your family and
Love my family. Yeah. So our business is called Berndt Family Produce because family is in the center of it all. It feels like in my life, that's
Mhm.
the way family is. So I grew up in Brookings, South Dakota. My husband, David, grew up in south of White, South Dakota. He's a farm kid. I'm a city girl. And I knew nothing about farming, but we got married and I have learned so much and have so much to go. We've been married 34 years next month.
Mm.
34 years, yeah. And we
Mhm.
have 6 kids. Our oldest and our youngest are adopted. And then we have 4 in the middle. And we have 8 grandkids. 4 are in Georgia. 1 is in Brookings, and then 3 are a couple miles down the road, which is super awesome. And if you could see the background, which I'm glad you can't, I have a playpen and I have little tyke stuff here and dress up hats and all over. So my kids are over a lot. My kids and my grandkids. So yeah, we have 2 kids that are currently in the operation. One's full time and one's part time. And of course, my daughter in Georgia is all over the gardening spectrum. And my
Mm.
daughter in Owatonna, Minnesota, is in she's a manager of a greenhouse.
Oh,
And then we
wow.
have a son that works down in Chester, South Dakota at the ag service down there. So those 3 are all in it too. We only have one son that's not involved directly. He does a lot of mom, can I help you here and there and
Oh,
type things.
sure.
So yeah, he works at Pizza Ranch in Brookings, so we love that. So, but yeah, our family outside of the produce business, which is kind of exploded in our faces, our number one production on the farm is alfalfa. And
Okay.
that's for horses and cows and sheep. And then we get into, um, yeah, um, corn stalk bales. And we also have corn and beans. We don't have cows anymore. My son does, but we don't have the cows anymore. So we're busy all the year round. Or yeah, we really are
Hmm.
busy all year round.
You don't really have a like a season, like, oh, the end of the season is ending, or I mean, it does end, but then it picks up and begins the next season right away.
Exactly.
It's not like you have, oh, what do you do all winter? You have your whole winters off.
That's the funny thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
We do get away. We try to get away down to Georgia once or twice during the winter.
Okay.
And so winter means we get a few days when we can sleep in. That's what winter is. So
Right.
yeah, we don't. But we still have customers that come out and get potatoes and squash and onions and carrots. And we just finished digging carrots the other day. We
Just
just
finished
quit
digging carrots from last year's growth.
from last year's crop.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, we covered it with straw and then we could get in and dig up what we needed. And as long as the straw was there, then the ground wasn't frozen
So David's been farming for Dave, like
ever.
56 years, something like that, I think I
Mhm.
figured out. And you
Yep.
started Berndt Family Produce in 2000, so 24 years.
Yeah. Crazy.
And you
I
didn't know
told him I
anything about
wanted
farming.
no, not a bit. And I didn't know anything about gardening because I was the inside girl and my sister was the outside girl. Or daughter. So I had no gardening experience, none. So it's like we were getting to 2000 and the kids were getting a little older. Well, our youngest, we only had five at the time. Our youngest was two. And it's like, we need to do something because the kids are growing up way too fast and we're going to have to get some more income. What can we do? And so
Hmm.
I bring this brainchild to my husband and he didn't shoot me down. He said, maybe we can do that. So someone had gifted us, anonymously gifted us a tent. No, actually, it was $200. And I took the $200 and I bought a tent, like a craft tent. And I did crafts for a couple years. And that really, I mean, I loved it, but the
Hmm.
customers really weren't coming. And so
Oh.
we took that tent and it's like, okay, I've already got that. I don't have to invest in it. You already know how to plant because he did potatoes and eggs in the Gibson parking lot in Brookings when he was growing up on Saturday mornings. He'd come home on Friday nights, wash potatoes, wash eggs, go to town on Saturday morning, and that was his spending money
Hmm.
until he got into his teenage years. But so he knew gardening. I had no clue, none. So little. I knew so little. The one of the first years we had some kids coming out to help with bales. And since they didn't have anything to do that day, they were going to help me in the garden. And David wasn't around. Big mistake. Big mistake. So they're supposed to plant potatoes. They take a post hole digger, dig the potato holes like a foot deep, plant the potatoes. So when I go to dig them, they're like a foot and a half down under the ground. I'm in tears because I can't get to the potatoes, and I'm supposed to be at market. So
So it started with a tent and
started
somebody
with
who
a
knew
tent.
how to grow a few things. And
Exactly. And I know people, and I love people, and I love sales.
Mhm.
So it was, yeah, he's the muscle. I'm the mouth.
And I'm
Making people laugh.
disappointed, but I understand he couldn't join us today because, like you
Yes,
said, he's rarely not in the field. I mean, you just
true.
hardly are ever going to get him anywhere.
Exactly. Yes,
So family comes first. I also
definitely.
know that faith does for you, so I want to bring that
Definitely.
into your
Yes,
show, and let's just talk a minute about
yes.
why your faith is important to you and how it leads you in your daily life.
It's like the center. I mean, it's my foundation. So we have a verse. It's a lady was really kind of disgusted with me when I took liberty with this verse because I was twisting scripture. But James 1:17 is every good and perfect gift is from above. Well, I took that and it's on all of our t-shirts and all of our bags and everything. Every good and perfect veggie is from above because we believe that everything that we have is a gift from God and we just couldn't do it without him. So,
Hmm.
and it kind of, it, it's just a way that we treat people that we recognize how God treats us. and how we don't deserve it. And we take that and we treat customers the same way. We try to, even though sometimes we don't deserve it. We all have our days.
Mhm.
So then so we treat others the way we want to be treated in every situation. And so every year we have a saying that the customers really don't know about, but I think I'm going to make it a little more public this year. In 2020, that was kind of a hiccup year, super busy. It was our biggest year to date. And then in 2020, and it was like, I can't believe all these people are coming. And then in 2021, we kind of took on the saying, welcome to the family, because we're Berndt Family and people would come, welcome to the family. We're glad you're our customer, but we're going to treat you like family. Then in 2022 and 2023, it was like, oh, welcome to the family and welcome home. And we had
Mhm.
customers that were moving into South Dakota from Washington and California and all over. And they would come to us. It's like, where are you from? We make a little chit chat. Well, welcome home. And they're like, I've never been treated like that before. It's like, well, we're glad you're here. And we want to
Mhm.
welcome you into our home, to our business. And this year I kind of struggled because I didn't know what I was going to do. And then it kind of dawned on me that I think that to take that step of faith and to go one step further with the customers, it's going to be, you belong here. You belong with us. You belong
Mhm.
in our hearts. You belong, and we're going to treat you like you belong with us. You're not an outcast. We just want to include you.
And I looked at your Facebook page, and so many customers comment just about how they just love your produce and love you guys, and employees or past former employees will say those are some of the best days, hardest work, but the most
Yes.
rewarding days working with the Berndt family, and you can just really tell. Yeah.
Yeah. I love our group. We have one customer that's now my right arm.
Hmm.
She's working with us. She worked with us last year and she's coming back this year. So that's kind of cool.
So many
She knows both
customers
sides
comment.
of it. So
So how many acres for your garden, for your produce? How many acres are you farming?
the produce is 50 acres, but 30 of that is sweet corn.
30 acres of sweet corn.
30 acres of sweet corn. Yeah,
And you're
that's
hand
good.
picking everything.
Not quite. We did, and we would have been divorced, but now we got a sweet corn picker. Either we would have been divorced or incapacitated because
And you're
about 2 years ago, David found a sweet corn picker, and it's like a field corn picker where it pulls it up and it takes it up an elevator and it drops it on the trailer that we're on. And we have a big tub, and then we have to sort because it picks everything. It destroys the stalks. Where if I
oh.
had hand picking, I could go through and take the ear that's ready and then come back in a couple weeks and get the ear that's not that wasn't ready at the time. So
Hmm.
there were times when we would have a drought and I would have to rely on that second year. But now we don't have that option, which I'm okay with because I love this. It's just,
Because you're still married and you still have sweet corn.
yes, yes. So there's a picture on Facebook of our youngest son is Junior. He's a black kid and he's hilarious. And he's always trying to keep up with everybody else because he's the youngest. And there's a picture of him on there in front of sitting inside the van in front of a pile of sweet corn. And he had picked 100 dozen by himself. I
Oh
had
my
carried it
gosh.
to the van, and that's how we did it. We'd have a picker and we'd have a carrier. And I was the one carrying, and he would pick by hand. And he did it in just over an hour, or was it an hour and a half? He was smoking. He was just moving. Yeah,
Well, other than sweet
it's funny.
corn,
Yes.
what all do you grow?
Ooh,
Because it's a long, long list.
it's a
So,
long list. Yeah. So we get sweet corn in first. And then last fall, we planted all our garlic.
okay.
And then we plant sweet corn and onions, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and head lettuce. And those are our cool crops. And then we'll get into the green beans, zucchini, beets, cucumbers, um, okra, watermelon, muskmelon, and those things we double crop. We'll do those again. We have two plantings of those things, and then pumpkins, squash. Yeah, I can't remember. a lot.
Pretty much. Do you do eggplant? Do you
Yes,
do eggplant?
yes.
Okay.
My
Tomatoes?
husband, yes.
Maybe you said that.
Tomatoes, eggplant, and peppers. We do those twice.
Okay.
So we plant them in May and then we plant them again in July. And so early July, late June, so that we can have them again through until frost.
Sure. Yeah, there's not
So
much that you don't have. So when you go to the Berndt Family Produce stands or well, you do your self-serve corn, but you also have your
right.
stands. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. But you have pretty much everything. Like I've gone there before and had in mind the things that I want to get and then realized that you have everything else. And so you're just stocking up on all, you don't even need to go to a grocery store for vegetables all summer long.
That's not really our goal, but it kind of has happened that way. Yeah. If we only had the vegetables that my husband would eat, it would be a really short list.
Are you
But
serious?
I'm serious. Corn, beans, cucumbers, peas, potatoes. That's about it. He loves to plant and he loves to pick and he's so good at it, so we just keep going.
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
mean, agriculture's so unpredictable and we've had some rains and things now. We were so dry, but have you ever lost like a whole crop of something or everything to like a hailstorm or pests? I mean, how do you keep animals and things away? We have so many deer. We live out in the country and they're crazy.
They're horrible this year. We put up a fence around, we have some fruit trees just for ourselves. And every year
Mm,
we have to replant and replant. And so we just finally put up a fence. And it's not, I mean, the gardens, I don't think he wants to do that. We may have
hmm.
to, but it's such a big project that he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
So we have a dog and she just doesn't seem to care about deer. So
Just lets them
anyway,
in.
let's
Gardens
see.
open.
Yeah, that's what it's so funny. It's not funny, but you have to laugh because otherwise you cry. But I mean, the
Um,
other day we were coming down the hill in the Ranger. We use a lot of Rangers, so you can see quite a bit. We were coming down the hill and we saw 7 deer go through the shelter belt just right next to the garden. It's like, this is not going to be good. This is going to be a
no.
rough year. And there's turkeys everywhere, and turkeys are carnivorous, so they bite tomatoes. And
Oh.
I'm not sure what we're going to do there.
Yeah. Speaking of employees, how many, like in
Mm.
a great year, if you were able to fill all the positions you have for coming out and helping,
Mm.
and then also working the stands and everything, the sales, how many
Hmm.
do you have?
Yeah. I think we have 10 to 12 for production. We call it production and sales. That's our division.
Okay.
So, and they can overlap. That's not a big deal. But for production, I think we have 10 to 12 non-family. And then there's two of us doing marketing and computer stuff. And then there's probably 8 of us for sales. And I don't know what we're going to do this year because if I don't get somebody in Brookings to help on Fridays, because I only have one girl, I might have to shut one of the towns down on Fridays, which I don't want to do.
And people don't want
But
you to do that either.
Fridays is a busy day all over. And then David does self serves from the time we put them out until the end of October. Well, the end of September. He does them every single day, and it's a 65-hour day if he doesn't have someone helping him, and it's about a 3 hour trip, 3 to 4 hours because we go over to Lake Ponset too. If someone does help him, it speeds it up so much.
Okay.
So yeah, we have 5 self-serve stands. Um, there's Dale's Alignment and Runnings and Brookings, and then we have Volga and White, and Lake Ponset is our farthest away, so that travel time is kind of extensive. And then we have stands at the Econo Lodge in Brookings and the Cowboy 2 store in Watertown. And then we sell fresh produce and mostly pumpkins down at Hartford, the Sunshine store in Hartford. And then we have watermelons, muskmelons, onions, and potatoes and pumpkins at the Running store in Brookings.
Inside the store.
The pumpkins aren't, but everything else is. Yeah. Yep.
Right. Okay.
So you walk into Runnings in July and or maybe August, and there's watermelons and muskmelons in there. It smells so
Inside.
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you have your self-serve stands, which are those corn only, sweet corn only?
Mm-mm. No, it's sweet corn, potato, and then things that we bag up. There's like potatoes and onions, and sometimes we have tomatoes and green beans. There, tomatoes and green beans are
Mm,
hit and miss, mostly on the
okay.
weekends than during the
Okay.
week. But yeah, watermelon, muskmelon, they're all marked in there.
That adds to, I mean, is it a Midwest thing? 'Cause that there's a lot of trust involved there where you're leaving these big
Yep.
carts of all of your hard work and your produce, your income is sitting
Yeah.
there, and
Hmm.
people are expected to be trustworthy and put their money in there. Does that work out pretty good?
For the most part, it really does.
Yeah.
Volga is by far the most honest of all the
Aw,
stands. So, I don't, yeah, it's just
cool.
really good. It is
Uh,
cool. We had one time where David actually, we'd gotten our stand broken into. And
oh.
so David sat out in the parking lot and watched the stand. And here comes a guy with bolt cutters. And he was cutting off the lock and getting the cash out. And so he chased him, and then the police came and got him. And so then we had to reconfigure the box. So now
Mhm.
that the lock is inside the box, and we haven't had
Oh,
any
okay.
trouble with that. There was a guy that came up to me one day. Well, we got a note. We get notes all the time. Um, and this one guy came up to me and he goes, "Hey, do you remember I left you a note a couple weeks ago that I was really sorry, but I needed some food. Just got into town." And he was doing a construction job, and
Uh-huh.
he doesn't get paid for 2 more weeks, and he was
Mhm.
hungry. It's like, I wish he had come to me at the stand, because I would have said, "Here, take
Oh,
more, take more," but he didn't know. So, yeah, he was very honest about it, and it was really. And I've had other people.
so
I'm
he
sorry,
left
I
you a
can't.
note in the
He
box and
left
then he
us a
came
note.
back to
Yeah,
pay you for it?
right. But he
Oh.
made sure I was there. He saw me and he came over and talked to me, not just threw it in the box and
Right.
hey, we're even. But life is
Right.
hard. Life is hard,
Hmm.
and you need each other. So
You don't do farmers markets, right?
I do not. At the beginning, they didn't let us bring our kids to
Oh.
markets. It's like, well, that's kind of why I'm doing this, so I can spend time with them.
Hmm.
And now they do. They're all over it. They're very good about kids, very
Hmm.
good. I had one customer chew me out one day. She's like, "You shouldn't have your kids doing money." It's like, why not? Did they do something wrong? No, but they might. But she was a good customer and she kept coming back.
Oh.
So whatever.
Well, I think it's
But she
great.
was
I
a
bet
good
your kids
customer.
know how to count cash back, and most kids don't know
Oh,
how to
yeah.
do that.
Yep. They know how to talk to adults too, and how to have a conversation with someone that you know nothing about. It's
Hmm.
almost like they're farmers or something. They talk to all sorts of people.
Tell me about you have CSAs, you do your online
Yeah.
ordering, you also do the fall and winter shares. So how does that
Yep.
work?
We have 5 different shares. We have the summer shares are the half, the large, or the half, the small, and the large. And so a half share is going to be 6 pounds of whatever you want, plus 3 ears of corn every week that we're open until the end of September.
Hmm.
And the small share is 12 pounds of whatever you want, plus half a dozen ears of corn. And a large share is 20 pounds of whatever you want, plus a dozen ears of corn from mid-July until the end of September. And the reason we do that is because ours is a little different, because you might not like anything but corn and beans. But some people only want 12 pounds of tomatoes this week. I'm just going to make a short batch of salsa, or whatever. So you get to choose whatever you want. And the thoughts were, I don't go to Walmart and take whatever they give me. I take what I want.
Hmm.
Or if I want to try something new, then I'll get it. But I don't take it because you're telling me I have to. And if I don't
Right.
like it, then I have to suck it up. So that's our little deal. The fall winter share is 24 pounds every other week from October until the end of December. And so then they will come to town in October, we're in town every week. And then November, December, it's every other week that we meet them and we bring their produce. We have a survey monkey that we send out with a list of what's available. And so the fall winter share and the people in Sioux Falls and the people in Madison all get to choose what they want. And we make up those boxes specifically how they want it.
Hmm.
And then the salsa share is 40 pounds of tomatoes plus 5 pounds of onions, 5 pounds of peppers, and you can make a big batch of salsa. And then is that all we have? The canning share is 3 bushels of whatever. I had a guy when we first started, he went down to a half a peck of this and a half a peck of that. And it's like, do you even know what a peck is? Because a peck is half a bushel. So you're getting like 12.5 pounds of tomatoes or whatever. He goes, yeah, it's kind of an antiquated form of measurement, but it's all I know. It's like, okay. So then we stopped giving you choices on how much to get, except I'll take myself down to half bushels. So if you wanted half bushel of green beans and half bushel of tomatoes and half bushel of carrots and half bushel onions or whatever, we can go down to 6 things on the canning
Mhm.
share.
You
So
really are differentiating yourselves. I like that you let people pick.
yeah, when you come up to the market, whether it's in Brookings or Watertown, and you just say, "Hey, I'm here for my share," and a lot of times I don't remember names, so I have to
Mm.
ask you your name, or I have to ask you what size your share is, and they always know, or I can look it up, and then you just shop. You just shop the way you are. You can shop for green beans, or okay, I'll take a bag of this or whatever, and then we weigh it up, and it's like enjoy your burnt produce. And then we also, I guess I forgot to say, we also offer jug of one jar of honey a month for the summer shares, and then 1 jug of honey for the fall winter share.
Is that
But
your own
yeah,
honey? Are you doing
we have
hives into your
bees.
own?
We have someone else's bees on our alfalfa. So
Okay.
technically yes, and technically no.
I want to go back just a quick second because when I
Yeah,
found
yeah,
out
yeah.
that you were doing salsa and canning shares,
Yep,
I just thought, well, that is brilliant. Now, if I don't want to do a garden or somebody might have room for it or time and
exactly.
whatever the reason, you can get
Yep,
a salsa share or a canning share and get everything that
yep.
you need except like you say the jars, your equipment, but
Great,
to can salsa or to do your canning and you're getting to pick
great.
the canning things. That is so cool. Hmm.
Exactly.
When you think back to when you started in 2000 and you were good at sales. Anyway, you started this business. What's something that you wish that you would have known then?
Um, Glad we didn't know how stressful it was. Yeah, it was but I think my daughter kind of summed it up. She said, it's okay to take a risk. You either learn a lesson or you gain a huge benefit, but just take the risk. And we kind of did when we started. And I told David, just give me 5 years because
Oh,
a small business usually makes or breaks in 5 years. Give me five
oh.
years. Just, if we have a down year, I don't care. But
Hmm.
I need to know that in 5 years we tried. And so, yeah, I should have studied Spanish. That's something I didn't know.
Oh,
I wish I had known Spanish. I think I would have. A lot of our customers don't come. A lot of our Spanish speaking customers don't come to us at the stand because we don't speak Spanish.
oh, okay.
And all I can do is I'm very fluent in Google Translate. So I can do that. Thankfully, we have it now. And it
Sure.
was so crazy because last year I had a gal in Chinese. She
Mm,
knew Chinese. She doesn't know English. So it's like pulled out Google Translate. And we could go back and forth that way. Got to
yeah.
watch out because sometimes it doesn't say exactly what you mean. I had some kids last year that were helping me, some high schoolers, um, and they were Hispanic speaking or Spanish speaking. And I told them something and I showed it my phone to them, and they're like, uh, and I said, what did I say? So then I took it backwards and it didn't say I mean, it wasn't anything bad, but it didn't
Oh,
say what I wanted them to do. It was
mm.
totally not ignorant. So what do I wish I'd known? Yeah, I think the stress is the big, big, big thing. And I think, well, I didn't know how to really, I'm the best procrastinator there ever is. And to go along with procrastination, I'm really good at not estimating how long it's going to take me to do a project. And so just getting those two pieces put together at the beginning would have been helpful.
Yeah.
But
I would not have guessed that
yeah,
about you being a procrastinator. You don't have time to be a procrastinator.
you don't. I think it's fear, fear that I'm going to fail at it. And so I need
Oh.
to, it's like I have to figure it out. And it's like, no, just get in and do it. Get your hands dirty, get going on it, and it'll kind of smooth itself out if there's some wrinkles.
So hopefully you'll have
Yeah.
some customers that are like, "Hey, I know Berndt Family Produce. I know
No, you're
Dawnna."
good.
What do you want to say to them? 24 years worth of customers.
Yes, 24 years worth of customers, and quite a few of them have passed away, which is kind of sad. And we've gotten
Mhm.
so many new ones. I would just
Good.
say that we're the welcome home and the welcome to the family, and you belong here. We really want to tell them that's how we sincerely feel. We really feel like you're part of our family. You have adopted us into your home,
Mhm.
and we really don't take that for granted. You could go to Walmart, you could go to Hy-Vee, you could go to the farmer's market, you could go to Sioux Falls or Watertown, and you could get your vegetables anywhere. But when you choose us, that's an honor to us, and we don't take that lightly. And we do appreciate everything that the customers do. And I mean, they just love on us like that. We
Mhm.
love on them. Oh my goodness, they're so so special. And I hope they know that we can listen to criticism, and we can take that and run with it. Because if somebody comes up with a something that's not working in their life, maybe it's not working in someone else's life. And so we want to know, what do you want about the
Mhm.
vegetables? What is it that I'm doing wrong? How can I make it right? Because they have so many good ideas on how
Mhm.
to do things differently. And so, yeah,
Sure. And
I
times
think
change, things change. So,
oh,
yeah.
wow. Yeah. In 24 years, we've seen so many changes in produce
Mhm.
that it's just
Well, and that
crazy.
kind of leads me to something I wanted to ask about was, have you seen in 24 years, what kind of changes have you seen in the support or intentionally purchasing, supporting local?
We,
It seems to
yeah.
me as a consumer that I am way more focused on trying to support and buy local than ever before. But is it because I'm getting
Mhm.
older, or is there something in society that,
I think both. Sometimes, yeah. I think at the beginning, we had a lot of older ladies, and they knew everything about canning, and they did a
mm,
lot of it, and
hmm
they could cook from scratch, and they had the time to cook. And there wasn't, they didn't have that. They weren't working outside the home as much.
oh,
And now it's like, I don't know that you could survive not working with one person working outside the home. I mean, it's not that you can't, you can, but it's really tight. And so I
hmm
think that a lot of people are working, and so they need a convenient package so they can stop and grab and run. And yeah, we still stand around and have conversations with people, but I think the
hmm
urgency of getting their list done for the day is pretty big too.
you're making it very convenient for people to pick up things at different times when they need it.
Hmm. Our customers have changed. Well, our Wednesday customer has always been an older person. Maybe they have a little more time. Fridays are the people trying to pick up for the weekend. And
Hmm
Saturdays, we get a lot of families together on
Hmm.
Saturdays, which is really cool. We don't always get to see the kids unless they come on the weekend.
During the week,
Sometimes we
yeah.
do yeah, we don't see them during the week as much unless it's like Wednesday after school. If grandma picked up the kids because it was an early out and she's coming by to get whatever she wants, then we see the kids.
Mhm. Mhm.
Lots of people on Fridays are coming and going to the lake. They're driving through Brookings, or they're
Yeah.
driving through Volga. They're on their way to a lake here or there. Or, yeah, they go by the Stand in White.
Where do you
Mhm.
have the one out at Ponset, Lake Ponset?
It's at the Dollar General
Oh, yeah.
store right as you come
Yeah.
into on 81.
Well, I asked if you had any fun stats that you could put together. I don't know if you found anything, but it's always fun to share, like, how many seeds do you plant, or how many
Yeah.
rows, when you said you planted all this garlic, or when you're doing semi-loads of pumpkins somewhere. Do you have some of those fun things to kind of share with us?
Um, kind of. The kids came up with it, and David did. It's like, well, how many seeds of sweet corn? I just did sweet corn with him. How many
Hmm
seeds of sweet corn do you think we plant right now? And he said 500,000, a half a million,
500,000.
yes,
Oh gosh.
yes, that'll do 25 acres. And
Okay.
for potatoes, we buy 4,000 pounds of potatoes. That's something that we don't do by hand anymore. We have a potato cutter. That's
Okay.
awesome. So that can go really sweet.
Hmm
We started with half an acre of corn, and now we're up sweet corn. And now we're up to 30 acres. The whole garden itself started on less than 2 acres. We have this field up here by my shed, and that was our garden. The whole thing was just our garden, and it's
Hmm.
now we're at 50 acres.
Wow.
So, yeah. We started the pumpkin patch, um, was just for sales. And then we invited the Jubrook school to come in because our kids were in school there, the elementary. So then the elementary came out. And one of our gardens was or half of that garden was the entire pumpkin patch.
Mm.
And then it grew a little bigger and it grew a little bigger. And David's like, we're not moving pumpkins fast enough. So then we opened it up to all the schools. We invited them and I did a lesson. And at the time when we started, teachers, school tours or field trips were getting cut because
Oh.
there were budget cuts in them. And I get that. I understood it. So I
Mhm.
needed it to be educational. So we did the educational piece and then COVID hit and the teacher said, we still want to come out, but we don't want to see you. And it's like, yeah, get it. Totally
Mhm.
understand. So they still come, but then they do their education on their own.
Okay.
And then we opened it up to the public, probably 5, 6 years ago. And we started painting straw bales, and that's been so much fun.
You have this really cool map on your website that shows all the rows and it's color coded by
Yes.
what kinds of pumpkins and gourds and everything are out there and where people can drive and where you don't want them driving. And it's
Yep.
wonderful.
Our daughter-in-law did that.
And you do your hay bales to mark
Yep.
where the entrance is. Do you know what your theme is going to be this year? Because I see you do something different every year. People look
Every
forward to
year.
it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Well, we did Charlie Brown and we've done pumpkins and a couple years. And I think this year might just end up being M&Ms.
Oh, cute. Oh my gosh.
Because, well, my painter graduated from college and I didn't know what I was going to do. And
Oh.
it's like, well, I have to do something simple. And so it might just be M&Ms.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to do cars because we did Minions one year. That was easy.
Yep.
And I wanted to do cars, but I can't figure out how to do that quite yet. I
That's
like
cool.
M&Ms.
We know how much costs are going up and we see it everywhere. I'm sure yours as well on the back end.
On the front end so that the customer facing end, when we first started, we charged $1 a dozen for our sweet corn, and now we're at 6.
Mm.
So, and it's not like, hey, I want to make $5. It's like, yeah, well, the sweet corn seed has gone up and the fuel has gone up and labor. Now
Yeah.
I had to look up minimum wage because I can't shortchange my kids. And that's at
Yep.
11.20 or something like that now. And so everything has gone up. And not all of
Yeah.
our vegetables are on land that we own. The pumpkin patch and the um, pumpkin patch potatoes, squash, those are on rented land.
Ah,
And
okay.
so that's really gone up too.
Mm-hmm.
So insurance has gone up, which is crazy, but you have to do it.
Yep.
So, and the kids have gone away. We had 6 kids in the business, and that when they were in high school, that saved us quite a bit of money. But
Sure.
now they're gone. Now we're hiring that labor, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love working with kids. It's so much fun. It's so much
There's not a lot of people that would say that, so you
fun.
have the right
Oh,
heart for it.
I have good kids. I don't know. I think, well, when I hire, which I'm hiring, by the way, if anybody needs a job, let me know. Um, but when I hire kids, the kid has to call me. They can't just text me. They can't have mom do it or dad or their buddy because I need to know that that student can have a conversation with an adult and
Mm-hmm.
can clearly express what they want. And so I need them to be the one to make the call.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
mom wants you out of the house, or maybe she wants you to learn, dad wants you to learn work ethic, and which I'm super glad to teach you, but you have to be the one that wants to,
mm-hmm.
or else it's just not going to be a good fit.
That's not asking too much. I mean, when we think back to when we were in high school, I wouldn't have dreamt of having my mom go talk about finding a job for me. It
Right.
wasn't even a thing, I
Yeah.
don't think.
I don't think it was. I think
No.
that my teacher, so when I started working, other than my paper out, which I had when I was 9, um, I started working at George's Pizza,
Mm.
and which was a good job. But my teacher in high school then, Mr. Bondi, said, you need to find a different job. He set up the appointment at Shriver's for me, but I had to do the interview.
Oh,
So he
interesting.
found the job, but I had to take it. I
Yeah.
had to go and apply for it and take it.
Yep. Why
So
didn't he want you working at George's?
he thought I could do good in sales. He thought I had the type of a personality that could do better or could do more
Hmm.
consistently. The hours were different. It wasn't until 11 o'clock at night or midnight,
Yeah.
whatever. I love Georgian, by the way.
The
Here,
calzones
I like
there.
to. Yes. Oh my word.
Hmm.
There's another subject. So
Let's
good.
let's do a rapid, like a real quick kind of trivia Q&A. Name your produce that we should store in the refrigerator, like in the veggie or the crisper in the drawer.
Right. So I know what I do, and I wasn't sure what was right or not. And so I went online and looked it up, and they came up with two different kinds of crispers, actually. They have a high humidity
Oh,
and a low humidity. So in your high humidity crisper, the things that we would have would be like your broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, cucumber, green onions, green tomatoes, which I wouldn't have done, but they said it.
oh,
And then your greens, your kale, your lettuce, your okra, spinach, summer squash, that makes sense, peas, and your melons, once they're cut, can go in the high humidity crisper. And then your low humidity, they said that they kind of, yeah, they put the muskmelon, sorry, they put the muskmelon and the honeydew in the low humidity crisper.
and that's not
And
till
then
they're cut
produce,
though, right?
right.
Okay.
No, that is when they're cut. If they're not cut, I don't put my watermelon and muskmelon, my tomatoes. I don't put them in the crisper at all
They just
or in
sit
the
out on
fridge
the
at all.
counter, right?
They're on the counter
Okay.
out of the sun.
Yeah, like some of us are putting tomatoes in the fridge right away. Are we supposed to do that?
I don't. I leave them on the counter and I leave them out of the sun
Hmm.
because I don't want the sun it'll soften them too quickly.
Yeah. Well, and tomatoes aren't sold in if you go to a store, they're not refrigerated. So to me, you wouldn't want to
Yeah.
refrigerate them when you get home unless you've sliced them and then you need to put them in there probably, but
Yes. Yeah. Or yeah, definitely. And that's a good point. If you go to the grocery store, look at what they're doing. They don't
hmm.
have their bananas in the fridge. They don't have, but they do have all their greens.
What about cucumbers?
Very
So if I get cucumbers
cucumbers.
from you,
I do both. If I'm going to eat them right away, I'm not going to put them in the fridge just because if I have it in the fridge, it gets lost. So
yeah.
I just keep it on the counter so I remember. But once
Hmm.
it's cut, yeah, if I cut it, then I'll wrap it and throw it back in the fridge
Sure.
so that it stays fresh.
Of your produce that you have, what should we be storing? Yeah, like not in the fridge, maybe in a dark, cool place, the
Yeah,
pantry or a cellar. Can you do your potatoes, onions, garlic, all those
yeah,
things?
yep. And winter squash.
Winter
We
squash.
didn't winter squash. So the potatoes, funny thing, we had, oh, 2,000 pounds of potatoes left over that we put in our garage. And I didn't get around to covering them like I should have, and they turned green. So you can still use them, but they turned green. And then they
Okay.
sprouted more quickly because the sunlight was hitting them. And it wasn't even direct sunlight, it was very indirect. But if I
Hmm.
had covered them and kept it dark, they would have been, nicer.
You can grow potatoes and then you can keep them all winter. They won't get bad.
Right. And if you cover them, then they'll stay a lot better. I would guess that by March they were starting to sprout. And in
Okay.
April, I knocked off all the sprouts and then we'll cut them up and use a bunch of them
Hmm.
for planting this year. So,
Okay. Which one vegetable would people absolutely freak out if you didn't have it, if it was unavailable, if you're like, we didn't grow that this year? What's the one
yeah,
thing
I
they would
think
freak out?
they would freak out about corn.
That's what I was gonna guess, sweet corn, because that's the
Yep.
one I would probably freak out the most about.
Yes. Yes. Because when I am out of frozen sweet corn, it's like, well, that was awful planning. You just, how could you do this to yourself? It's
Yeah.
like,
We're almost out. I
Oh,
had Jason, when he went out to the freezer to get sweet corn for us this last weekend, I asked him to count how many more packages do we have, because
yes.
we need to plan so that we can get through until you have more, because we have gone through everything we got from you last time.
That's hilarious. Well, we
Plan
use
so
sweet
that we
corn
can
in
get through until
everything.
you. It's so delicious. Yeah.
I love it. We put it in hot dish. We put it in soup and chili. And yeah,
Hmm.
so good. So good.
You have a lot of time out there. You're talking about picking, other than the sounds of nature and the birds singing and everything that you have
Yes.
out there. What are a couple of
Absolutely.
your favorite podcasts to listen to?
Um, we don't, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts because there's always people around. And I don't mind that
Oh,
they listen, if they're listening to music or whatever, I don't care that they use their earbuds, but they need to keep one out so you can, if I'm talking to you, you can hear that that I'm
yeah.
starting a conversation or whatever. But I really, really like My Digital Farmer. Karina Bench is from Ohio, and she does a lot of marketing and sales and how to work your CSA, and she's a really
Oh,
good resource. Thriving Farmer is Michael Kilpatrick out of Ohio. Also, he started out on the East Coast and then he moved to Ohio, and he does. I think he might have an online or a on-site farm store, and he does CSAs, and he is a teaching podcast too. Karina Bench, I think she only does CSAs, and then she does chefs. She supplies a lot of chefs. But then the way I heard it by Mike Rowe, that's a funny one to listen to. And so I like listening to his. And I just started listening to yours. So
oh,
that's going to be a fun one.
well, that's
Yeah,
good.
I binge listen a lot in the winter, so
Oh,
that's kind of
sure.
fun. Yeah, and then there's one Lisa Turkhurst has It Wasn't Supposed to Be This Way, and then she's also got therapy and theology. I like those of hers. So
Okay.
listen to a lot of books on tape, a lot. Josh has um Libby, the library,
Yeah.
um online library, and I do a lot of audiobooks.
Okay,
So
sure.
that's what I do. Talk to
A
my
lot of good
sister a
stuff.
lot, talk to my kids a lot.
Oh,
But even the people in the garden, I like talking to them. It's just a blast to get to know kids
sure.
in the garden. So
And
teaching
for
moments.
those, oh, go ahead. What?
No, we have a lot of teaching moments in the garden.
Oh,
So
well, that's what I was going to say is when you think back to, again, when we were growing up, we would have those conversations and learn from adults. And we still remember those people who cared about us and took time.
yes,
And
yes.
you're doing that with people, with kids, students, high school students, or that maybe we just don't get that personal connection as much, even at home.
It kind of started with our kids. I knew right away that if I sent them out to the garden to do something and didn't go with them, there was a better chance that they'd be goofing off. They'd get the job done, but they might not get it done as quickly as I wanted.
Yeah.
And yet, if I was out there, we had some awesome conversations.
Mm.
We sang a lot of Veggie Tale songs. We had a couple tomato fights, rotten tomato fights, and you have those things that you remember,
Hmm.
so we have those good memories. We had a couple of years ago. There was a girl, and can I bring my radio out to the garden? It's like absolutely. And so she was playing this music, and all of a sudden I said, "Did he just swear at you?" And she goes, "Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't hear it." It's like, honey, you're worth more than that. Don't
Oh.
listen to that. You're worth way more than being sworn at. So,
Hmm.
yeah. But
Yeah.
we have a lot of good life lessons in the garden.
Hmm. What
So
can you share, one or two of your most commonly asked questions that you get from customers?
I think storage is a lot of it.
Mm.
What else is it? Oh, I'm too late to plant a garden. It's like, nope, you're never too late. Well, maybe you are, but I tell people, don't worry about it. I had a neighbor. She used to plant her garden. She'd wait until Memorial Day weekend, and that's the first she would get into the garden because then your chance of frost is gone. And she had
Right.
fantastic gardens. So it's like, don't
Mm.
think that you're too late. And then even with us, we plant our green beans again. Well, we plant green beans every 10 days, and we plant our zucchini probably 4 times during the year. So it's like you're not too late. Maybe there are some things that they say, oh, you need to plant them by the 1st of June. Maybe your pumpkins. But
Oh,
even
sure.
so, my pumpkins I planted on my husband's birthday, July 25th, and we still got pumpkins.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so there are things that maybe you're later and maybe your time's going to be a little bit off. And you might have
Mhm.
to be a little bit more conscious about when we're going to get frost. So yeah, no, you're just fine. And as a business, you might not be ready for sweet corn in the summer because your kids are home and you're working, or you're working on a project or whatever, but you might want your sweet corn in July or in August, September, because that's when your kids are in school, or you've got
Mm.
more downtime, or you've got the weekend and the husband's home and he can help me with it or whatever, so you're not, or your radishes, you don't want radishes only in May. Maybe you want radishes all through the summer, so
Right.
yeah, you can plant them, keep planting them, keep planting them, keep planting them.
Mm-hmm.
So those things. And yeah, it's like, so another question we get is your sweet corn good? It's like, well, I think so.
People ask you
But
that if your sweet
oh
corn is
yeah.
good.
Oh
Have you ever
yeah, is
had
it good
bad
sweet
sweet
corn?
corn for one thing? I've never thought about asking anybody that.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, and I know that not everybody likes my sweet corn. There's other people around that grow it. And it's like, maybe
Oh,
you don't like my personality. Maybe you don't like my timing.
huh.
Maybe you want to do something different. So I don't think that any of us, I don't feel like I'm in competition with all these other growers. I think our big goal in the big picture is get people to eat more vegetables, get people
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy what you grow in South Dakota, you know, right here at home. So I think that's basically, but yeah, so people will come up, is it any good? And it's like, no. And they look at me like, I said, no, I'm not. Yes, I'm kidding. I'm not
What
telling the
else are you
truth.
gonna say? Yeah.
It's like, great. So you got to have fun with customers. But then it's like, so I made this up too. And I tell my kids it too. I tell customers, if it doesn't taste good raw, it won't taste good cooked. So
Mm.
take the sweet corn and take a bite. And my daughters did this one day with a customer. And he's like, I'm not going to eat that raw. And they go, no, really, try it. If it doesn't taste good raw, you're going to add so much stuff to it just to make it palatable. You need
Oh.
to try it. So he tried it and he couldn't believe it. And he
Mm.
was a customer until this last year he moved to Sioux Falls.
Okay. Well, you're talking about recipes or what you're using all
Mm,
of the corn in. You're going to share a few
yes,
recipes with us that I can put on
yes,
randomsweets.com that use
yes.
vegetables or produce that you guys grow. What will
Yep.
those recipes be? Do you know what you're going to share?
Roasted potatoes. Well, I had one that
Mm.
was 11 ways to use potatoes.
Mm.
I had that on our Facebook page. I think I'll send that to you. But roasted potatoes. One of the things that we ask our customers is, "What's for supper?"
Oh.
Just because sometimes we just get to the end of the day and don't have a clue, and it's like, my husband's. So then we give them recommendations of what we're having for supper.
Yeah.
My husband's favorite is hamburgers on the grill with sweet corn and fried potatoes. And so that's his favorite meal. And so I'll tell them that. So I'm going to give you those, the
Okay.
potatoes. My son gave me a sweet corn salsa that he absolutely loves, and his kids love it.
Ooh.
So I'll give you that one. And then we have a KFC copycat coleslaw recipe that we really, really like. And that uses cooked cabbage and onions and carrots. That one's a really good one. We use that a lot. We feed a lot of people meals. So when you work for me, you always get a meal because
Oh.
that's just one of the things we do. We sit down. It's kind of a decompression time to spend together to
Mm.
recognize that we can have a meal together and we can enjoy each other's company. And so yeah, we eat a lot of coleslaw. And then I think that there was a potato soup recipe that our entire family likes. And I'll give that one to you too. So,
Okay.
and we put sweet corn in it, even though it's not in the recipe because we love sweet corn.
Well, we could talk for a long time about
Yes.
a lot of things. I just love your vegetables. Love coming to your stands.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Everything
you.
looks amazing, tastes amazing. So, where can people find Berndt Family Produce online? So, if people are looking for your website, social
Yep.
media, tell me all those things.
Yep. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Just search Berndt, BERNDT, Berndt Produce or Berndt Family Produce, and you'll find us on social. We have burntproduce.com. is our website, and we do have an online store there that they can, and they also have my contact information, so you can call or text me.
What do you most want people to know about Berndt Family Produce?
I think that we're a family, that we're not a big corporation, but we're a family, and we treat each other like a family, and we treat you like a family. I just want people to know that we're working together. It started with our kids. Our youngest was 2, and now she's 26. And so, yeah.
How do you feel? Have you thought about the thousands and thousands of meals and people that you've grown food for and fed?
In a
How does that
way,
make you feel?
I'm pretty humbled that they kept us going for 24 years, and some of and the places that all this food goes, it goes into or western Minnesota and eastern South Dakota, up and down the I-29, and then it goes to Sioux Falls and Madison. That's our CSA pickups on Mondays. But then we have people put it in their suitcases and take it to Texas, and it's gone to Florida and to South Carolina, and it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, yeah. So when we're done with a customer, or we're done having a conversation, if they buy potatoes or whatever, it's like, well, our last name is Berndt. Enjoy your burnt potatoes. And my husband's like, why do you say that? I said, people don't forget. They remember they're having burnt carrots for supper tonight or whatever.
Well, let's circle back to your faith as we just end here. I really just want to know, what fills your heart most about this life that God's walking with you in?
Yeah, he's right here with me. He's right here with me, and he's walking it, and he's walking with us, but he's asking us to walk with other people too. And so he's guiding us to the conversations that we need to have, what we need to say, how we need to approach the person. And he's just right here. It's all his. It's his business. And that's just how we feel. And maybe some people don't feel that way, and that's okay. But I know that whose business it is and who I have to answer to at the end of the day and at the end of my life. That's who I'm going to answer to. And there will be an accounting, and I want other people to be ready too. So I'm going to work to walk with them. I tell people that I'll stand and have a conversation, and everybody's got a story,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like your hairdresser. They kind of want to talk and tell you about it, which is fine because we know it. We've recognized it now. And so they'll say, oh, I took up too much time. It's like, are you kidding? I hire people to work so I can stand and talk. So and that's just how God has given me this opportunity to connect with people who really need somebody to connect with.
That's beautiful. And you're the right person for that. I'm happy to know you.
Love it. I'm happy to know you too for all these years. 40 years we've known each other. That's crazy.
Thank you, Dawnna, for sharing your story and your family and your faith, everything, and this time that you spent with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me. This was a treat. It's a real treat.
I will surely enjoy my burnt potatoes and corn. I like how Dawnna makes such strong connections with the young people who come to work for Berndt Family Produce, and they become family. Links to today's recipes and the podcast that Dawnna mentioned are in the show notes and on randomsweets.com. And also be sure to check out their website, bernttproduce.com, and follow them on Facebook, which is Berndt Family Produce, and on Instagram, they're at Berndt Produce. In the next episode, we're going to stick with this garden and growing theme that we've been on lately as Jan Sanderson joins us from Sanderson Gardens, just east of Brookings, South Dakota. He's so funny that my cheeks hurt when I was done talking to him. And be prepared for a long episode because he and I talked for nearly 2 hours, and I don't think there's anything I can edit out, but trust me, it's going to be an honor for us to hear from the Rhubarb King himself. So as long as you're subscribed to Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, your podcast app will let you know when that's available. I hope your summer season's off to a great start and that you're listening to podcasts while you're spending time outdoors. I'm your host, Stacy Mergenthal. Sweet wishes.